I don't think it's something that's been happening in recent times, so it's a fairly new initiative, really aimed to increase the talent pool in the London Borough of Havering, where I work, so that we can make sure that schools can appoint the best teachers for our schools. Yeah.
And how successful was the trip? How many teachers did you manage to recruit while you were out there?
Okay, well, when I went out, we had about 20 vacancies that were available in Havering, and we've recruited to about a third of those, but there are more interviews. The process hasn't finished, it's an ongoing process, and more vacancies are coming up as time goes by, as people resign from their posts. But what I've got now is a pool of people that I've interviewed who I can recommend to other schools in the borough.
What is the advantage of recruiting teachers from overseas? I mean, obviously there's a lack of teachers in the borough of Havering, but are there not perhaps other boroughs where it could have filled that difference?
I mean, our experience is that Havering's in a position where it's expanding in terms of number of children in the schools. So we need more teachers in our schools, and at the same time it is quite difficult to recruit in an outer London borough. So our experience is that when we advertise, we're not necessarily getting a strong pool of teachers to recruit from, hence the initiative to send me out to Australia to actually see whether we can get some good young Australian teachers to come across and work in the borough.
And when you were speaking to some of these Australian teachers, what were their reactions to the thought of potentially moving to the UK? What were some of the main questions that they had?
They were generally very excited. They asked questions around the things about how they would be cared for in terms of their professional development, but also how they would be inducted into the schools, because obviously they're going from an environment that they know well to one that they don't know. And there were lots of questions that where they were just unsure about what to expect, but I was able to reassure them that, in terms of the societies, they're not very different. It's very similar. The schools in Australia and the schools in the UK are very similar in terms of the way that children are. So we were, I think I was able to reassure them. They were very excited about coming over and the opportunities that would provide for them in terms of their professional development.
Now, we're in an interesting time politically, and obviously this would involve them immigrating or emigrating over. Yeah. Do you have any worries around perhaps those laws changing in the next few months?
It would be a concern if they were not able to come across. So most of the people I interviewed were under the age of 30, therefore they can come over on a 2-year visa. If they're over 30, they would have to come over and be sponsored by the school. It would be very, very disappointing if those laws change and we would be restricted to that pool of talent, because obviously as a head teacher I want the best teachers in my school for the young people that I serve. So it wouldn't be a great thing for us if we were denied that access to those people.
And in terms of Brexit and what that could represent, are there worries for you as a principal and for taking on these kind of initiatives as to how that could affect your kind of education system in your borough?
I don't think I've got any immediate direct concerns around Brexit and the provision in the borough, providing that we can continue to recruit good quality teachers, whether it be from in the UK or beyond.
And the teachers that you were looking for were maths, English and science, is that correct? Those were the three main subjects?
They're the three main shortage areas in the UK generally, but I interviewed a lot of primary, so I interviewed 26 potential candidates to bring across, 13 primary, 13 secondary. Obviously the primary could have taught any age in the primary sector. The secondary were a whole range of subjects. Very few scientists, because in fact science is a shortage area in Australia as it is in the UK. So it was across the range of subjects for the secondary schools in Havering.
Is there the argument, Stuart, that we should perhaps be campaigning to get more people into teaching rather than spending money going over and getting teachers from somewhere like Australia?
I mean, I think nationally there isn't necessarily a shortage, but I think regionally there are certain areas where it is much harder to recruit. But obviously we want to recruit more good quality graduates into the teaching profession. I know the governments have got plans around that, and I think that they're looking at providing more money for schools, so that obviously the salaries would be more attractive perhaps for graduates to go into teaching, whereas at the moment they may be going into other competing professions.